patriots, gay triots, they triots, black triots, and brown triots. Welcome to I've Had It, America's top DEI podcast. We are a beaver down. Pumps, my glorious co-host, is off in Maine, and Josh, my husband, is subbing for her.
Hello, hello, hello.
And we have a very special guest, Emma Vigeland from The Majority Report. And you guys, I want to start a rumor about Pumps. You know, I've always told Pumps she'd be a good lesbian. So she's off to Maine for a girls' weekend.
Oh, fun.
So the rumor I'm starting is that she's in Maine doing lesbian things.
I'm happy to further that rumor. Right. Yeah,
Sure.
I've heard similar rumblings.
Yeah. Have you heard that, Josh?
I've heard it for a couple of days now. Yeah. For a couple of days. I think there's some truth to it.
Many people are saying, isn't that what Trump would say?
Everybody's talking
be in
about
her
it.
J. Crew sweater on the beach, holding hands with another woman.
Yeah.
I mean, Maine is the place to do it. I feel like there's a lot of flannel. There are a lot of Subarus. I'm not trying to be too stereotypical here, but it's also absolutely beautiful up there. And hopefully Graham Plattner is the next senator.
No, I hope so too.
From Maine. Maine is one of the more beautiful states in the country. It should get talked about a little bit more. You got Portland. It's great coastline. Look, I'm an East Coast person, so I'm a big fan.
Yeah, we've got to get rid of Susan Collins.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no reason that she should still be in office. Like, the problem is that we keep putting up these corporate Democrats that keep losing and not connecting in Maine because it's a very specific area, as you know, coming from a red state.
Yes.
Like, it's a different dynamic, obviously. It's more rural and it's northeastern, but you have to be of the community to beat a Republican like her.
Yep.
So,
all right, let's everybody go around the table and share their grievances for today. I'll
Sure.
start. Okay. I've had it with people abusing your cell phone number. And let me give you an example. So, my real job, I'm an interior designer, not a podcaster. And I've been doing that for over 25 years. And now we've all shifted from landlines to cell phones. So my clients have my phone number. And oftentimes I wake up and I get up really early at like 5 and I'm in the zone. I'm doing Wordle, I'm doing connections, I'm doing the crossword puzzle. I'm very busy doing things, right?
yeah.
Drinking espresso. And then I get these 911 panic texts at like 6:01 a.m. from clients. And I love you, my interior design clients, I do love you, about their paint colors, the fabric choices, molding choices, cabinetry styles at 6:01. And I'm thinking to myself, I did not go to law school. I did not go to medical school. I'm an interior designer. We should not have crises at 6 a.m. And yet, because we've shifted from the landline to the cell phone, you get abused because everybody's got a way right to your number. And I just think there should be a rule. If it's before business hours or after business hours and it's business related, you don't text, you email.
Yes, you're preaching to the choir. I think it's because everybody's dopamine receptors are so messed up from the cell phones that if they don't get an immediate alleviation of their anxiety, like if they're having anxiety about your design or like their renovation or whatever, I'm not sure what the situation is, they have to get it immediately and they expect an immediate response. And then it makes everybody more anxious, right? Like part of what we're experiencing right now is this mass psychosis a little bit, anxiety, people constantly on edge. And I feel like that's a part of it where it's just like constant response or whatever you need right there in front of you.
Everything is so much more accessible to everybody is accessible. You think that when you get off Facebook that you're really going to eliminate yourself from people. Doesn't happen like that. Then your cell phone, spam, all this stuff just hits you day in, day out. Makes you want to put your cell phone down, throw it away until you start yearning again for what's on my cell phone.
Yeah.
It's a cycle.
Look, and I feel like I'm my generation, I'm 31. I'm probably one of the last people that remembers a period before having a cell phone. Like I think I got my first my first smartphone wasn't until at least midway through high school. We had flip phones, but it wasn't like I could go on social media all the time. Like, the internet was just starting to become a thing. I remember having a secret Facebook page when I was in middle school, and so my mom wouldn't get mad at me.
Yeah.
My mom loves your show. Shout out to my mom, Lynn, if she's watching or listening. But yeah, no, I mean, I feel like it's just become way too quotidian that it's a part of everybody's life like this. It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, but you're right. When Facebook first started, it was the red dot. That when you saw the red dot, somebody had liked something that you had posted, or it was.
What about the poke?
Oh,
that was kind of creepy. Do you remember the pokes?
Yes.
And then you'd get some I remember when it first started, I'm like, why is my friend's husband poking me on Facebook? It was so sexual, I thought, the poke.
Oh, I think it was. I think that it was meant to be a flirtatious thing, but poking is not flirtatious. Poking is annoying.
It's creepy, too.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Josh, what have you had it with?
Well, I've had it with, and I just experienced this on the way here.
Okay.
I've had it with to-go drinks with insecure lids on top of them. It's the demise of my existence.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if it's coffee in the morning, you've got a suit on, and I'm trying to carry this in a file, and so you're trying to put the drink right here, and then you realize it just ends up here. But in my situation today, we were working out at the gym. I got a protein smoothie. I'm on the phone with my law partner. I'm doing all these things. I get in the Uber with Jennifer, and the smoothie just literally collapses in my lap, and the lid comes off of it. And it's just these flimsy little lids that just fit on top that never work. Never. And so I've got this thing, and I have to go back in the gym, and I say, hey, can I have a towel? And I'm not going to give you this towel back. It's got to go with me. I'm going to owe you a towel.
It might be ruined anyway.
And then I'm cleaning this down. The Uber guy's just looking at me like, who in the fuck is this
Do you
guy?
remember the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where Larry David is so mad because they're not securing the takeout orders? And he goes back in and he's like talking about securing the containers and how insecure they are. And it's like a whole episode.
Yeah.
That's a very real thing.
No, it is.
Secure the carry-out takeaway items. They need to be secured. We can't be wearing this shit.
I know. It's crazy. We need more cup holders in every area, by the way, to add on to your point.
Yeah.
It's an addendum. We need cup holders to help us out in this situation.
Is this a 1A?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm adding to
Emma, what have you had it with?
Okay. I have had it with people who are habitual bad reviewers of restaurants, or people who go out of their way to give 1 star to an Uber driver or to a Lyft driver or something like that repeatedly. Look, people are struggling enough right now. You don't need to go out of your way. If it's a horrible circumstance in like an Uber or something like that, and you were in an unsafe situation, or if the restaurant was really, really horrible, a 1-off, a 2-off, I'm not going to, be all upset about that. But if you're the kind of person that's going into restaurants and like, I'm going to give a 3-star here, or there's no need to bring that negativity for these businesses. They're already struggling so much because corporations are buying up everything and consolidating everything. I don't understand the impulse of people to be such hall monitors when you're just paying for a lunch. Relax. I have unless it's an extenuating circumstance, I'm not 1-starring Uber drivers. I either 5-star or I don't rate at all. That's kind of my go-to, unless I'm saying if it's an unsafe situation, go for it.
Right. If the Uber driver's masturbating,
yes,
we'll go in with a 1-star.
Of course.
Right.
But people don't need to be that nitpicky in their day-to-day life.
I agree.
The people that are working gig jobs, they have it as hard as it is.
I completely agree with you. And there's this whole thing that's happening that we need to talk about, because it's where pop culture meets with politics. And right now the consumer feels so aggrieved because the corporations are not paying their employees a livable wage. And so we're having to tip on everything. Here's an example.
I saw your rant about this. It was great.
Yeah. I went just yesterday to get a bottle of water at the gym. And I opened up the refrigerator. I got the bottle of water. I walked to the thing. I did the checkout. And then I scanned my item. And she scanned it, turned it around. And then there was a tip option. And I'm thinking, I'm a tipper. I waited tables in college. I understand the grind. I understand the hustle. This doesn't warrant the tip. This is not a tippable purchase. It just simply is not. So I think all of that has kind of been an incubator for this consumer rage, combined with Facebook culture and keyboard warriors. And then you introduce kanks Kankles McTaco tits on top of it. We got Kanks out there who just makes everybody mad on both sides. Like if you're for Kanks, he gets you mad at the people he's mad at. And if you're against Kanks, you're wound up like a cheap clock all day long. And that's how I feel. I'm like, God damn it, this fucking guy. And so it's like, I feel like we're all in an incubator right now with all this shit.
Yeah, we're all on edge. And I think, it's in part because the economy is so precarious and there's an affordability crisis, not just here in New York City, it's across the country. And corporations are putting the onus on regular people to supplement them not providing living wages for their workers. And that's how they pit us against one another. The way Kanks is pitting Americans who maybe were born here against folks who became citizens or who are undocumented. It's very beneficial for very wealthy people to divide folks who are either working class or just like in their community, because the more divided that we are, the easier we are to oppose.
Go ahead.
I want to circle back to your had it and say that who because sometimes you see paragraphs that are written on these reviews. Yeah. And I'm just thinking to myself, because I recently went to a neurologist and I read the reviews.
He's a hypochondriac.
A complete hypochondriac. There's nothing wrong with me, but I took my MRI, my disc, and nothing wrong with me.
Did not need the MRI.
Took it there. Anyway, I read the reviews of the doctor, and these people had written 3-4 paragraphs bitching about the service, or they weren't nice to this person. I'm just
These
thinking,
are your hypochondriac peers.
I know. And I'm thinking, who the fuck has time, though?
Yeah.
Like in my day, if I thought, okay, I went to get a cheeseburger and this guy was a dick to me at the checkout line, who would think I'm going to go write a fucking paragraph about that, about what an asshole he was? I've got other shit I've got to do. I've got to try to get people out of prison. Other stuff.
You've got MRIs to take.
MRIs. I've got to read reviews.
Self-ordered MRIs.
I've got to read reviews for my new neurologist. I've got all this stuff to do. But I literally would not sit down and type just a hate-filled message about someone being an asshole.
It's like about what do you give your energy to? And I try to imagine that most people, if you've had a bad experience at like the front desk of a doctor's office, that they just had a really bad day. And they are often dealing with crazy people, or they're overworked or whatever. And that's usually what I try to make an assumption about, although perhaps that's a bit naive. I don't know. But not naive enough to make me take back my I've had it, right? People should still not be going over the top with this crap.
No,
and
I
the point about corporate exploitation, there are two things that really piss me off. There's a lot, but two that are relatable to everyone. Number one is the fact that Walmart, the heirs are so wealthy that they all still make like the Forbes 400 list after the wealth is divided, right? And then the people that work at Walmart, because they pay their employees such a shitty wage, they have to go get supplemental income from the government, or food stamps, SNAP, et cetera. And so we are subsidizing the Walton family, and these people are rich as shit. They have an airplane hangar full of PJs. They haven't flown commercial in ages. And then the very people that work at Walmart go and vote against the people that can help them and for the billionaires that are fleecing them. That pisses me off. But here's something that's really pissing me off, and it's Jeff Bezos.
Oh, yeah.
That motherfucker uses more infrastructure than anybody on the planet. Roads, airspace, et cetera. The infrastructure that Amazon uses is off the chart. He should be paying an infrastructure tax because he doesn't have retail stores, and he uses so much more infrastructure than any other business on the globe. And so all of these roads and highways that service all of his cars, we are paying for. And it's insane how many people that make $50,000, $60,000 a year go fight for Jeff Bezos and the Walton family. It makes me crazy, Emma.
I think my argument on that would be that I think we could get a better education for some of those folks if we had an opposition party to the Republicans that were more focused on class. There's like a lack of class consciousness in this country where it's very different in Europe. I don't know if you've seen some of these strikes, like in Italy, in protest of sending weaponry to Israel. They shut it down, millions of people in the streets, because they have a long tradition of labor solidarity and of working class people kind of coming together. And then they also get great vacation time too. But the United States is so backwards in that area. But like, you know, I totally agree with you about, especially the Walmart point. We give them tax breaks already because they're so big and they're able to buy off our politicians. And then we are supplementing them being horrible to their workers by that. I think Walmart, some of their employees might be the top recipients of things like Medicaid and SNAP. They're at the very least in the top 3, if my memory serves me correctly. And that is because they have double dipped. They have bought off the government in terms of tax breaks, and then they have allowed, because, you know, our healthcare for some reason is provided via our employer, they have given bare minimum healthcare, if that, for upper level employees. But if you're just somebody that's working there and you're not guaranteed healthcare, we don't force employers even to guarantee healthcare in all of these circumstances either. It's insane.
Go ahead.
It's amazing. I always think about, you see these people that have all this money. They've acquired this fortune. Then I sometimes thought about Elon Musk or whoever. They spend all their fucking time on some social media outlet, and they want to prevent other people from doing better. And it's really sort of, if I had that much money, like, wouldn't you want to just spread some sort of goodness in the world? Wouldn't you want to just maybe help somebody instead of being some vile fucking asshole who's tweeting mean shit to people?
But that's because you could never be Elon Musk.
I know.
The reason he's there is because he was okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, you can't make billions of dollars and not be okay with exploiting people. It's just not possible. You can't get to that point. I mean, perhaps if you inherited it, but then it's incumbent upon you on giving it away, to give it away, in my view. I mean, it was Bill Gates' ex-wife is trying to do that to a degree. Like, I don't think that you can be a billionaire under capitalism and not be inherently exploitative. And then it gets to a point where, like, okay, say you meant well. I mean, you made all this money. But when you're a billionaire, you're so sectioned off from the rest of people that it becomes its own psychosis almost, where, like, you don't have a connection to a shared humanity that creates a snowball effect where you don't see other people as regular people. Like, we talk about aliens coming down from other planets. The aliens, to me, are the billionaires that are just there to extract and then, you know, have other people serve them, but not really understand what it's like to be a human being in society.
And they demean, they extract and demean. But you are so right about Europe. The last few times we've been in France, you know, the French are always on strike.
Yep.
One time we're there with the kids, and the trash is piled up everywhere. So you like see the Louvre and the Place de la Concorde, and there's just heaps of trash everywhere.
Right.
And they are so fucking mad, the French people, because they didn't give the trash collectors a raise. So the whole country just went on strike, and they're like, we're not picking up the trash.
Right.
And then another time we were there, and it was like the yellow vest. I can't remember what they were mad about. One time it was the retirement age. And they really have a lot of pride. We have some really close French friends, and they have a lot of pride in their health care. And they have a lot of pride in maternity leave. And they have a lot of pride in paternity leave, and that the government helps sponsor and facilitate these things. We don't have any pride in any sort of government assistance or government mandated things that government can do for us, because the Republican Party has done such a good job propagandizing that if you need anything from the government, you're a lazy piece of shit and you're a moocher, when really the parasites and the parasitic people in the country are the billionaires. And I think your analysis that they get into a psychosis is so spot on, because it's the more you open up your eyes to it and the more you see the way they're behaving, like Josh was saying, like, can you imagine being a billionaire? And you would think, okay, like, remember when we would think, okay, what am I going to do if I win the lottery?
Right.
What would I do? Right. You think freedom is what you think, right?
Yeah.
So when I watch these billionaires go to Kanks's Dementia Hour show and tell, where we all have to sit around in the circle jerk and tell him how great he is, I think they aren't free at all. They have to go make up awards, like Tim Cook brought some trophy, humiliated himself, and they have to engage in these humiliation rituals for this man that is not even remotely likable. I hear that, I haven't been around him in person, but I hear that he stinks. I mean, a lot of credible sources in courtrooms say that he wears a diaper and that he's shitting his pants. And can you imagine that you have all of this financial freedom and a bank account that could choke a bull, And you have to go make up some trophy and give it to that flea bag of a human being. It just blows my mind.
Well, it becomes like a dick measuring contest between billionaires, to put it crudely. And then it's also incentivized by capitalism builds itself as being able to be a system that can support endless growth. And we know that there can't be endless growth. There has to be an endpoint to a degree. Like some of these social media companies, the reason that they are, I think, trying to monopolize your time in the way we were talking about earlier is because they need your time on your phone. They need you on your phone all the time, because if they want to come back to shareholders and show them that we're growing, even though this company could not possibly be bigger, everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on Instagram, but we've got to show more growth, more time, more stuff that we can show to advertisers. It creates more and more toxic business incentives and things that like are hurting, say, kids or people's attention span or their ability to like have critical thought. I mean, the Trump administration in this era is a little bit of a part of that, where it's about a dopamine response or the way he makes people feel more than it is about the facts. And I think, you know, the tech companies, despite having this green branding in the Obama era, have become a deeply toxic force in that. The focus on cities too. I mean, you're here in New York. You're not. I don't think it's the hellscape it's been described as, right? I think is really important to understanding it too, where they're putting all these like this very heavily racialized content to the very top of people's feeds and making it feel like this is the most unsafe place on the planet, because multiculturalism and bunch of different people of different walks of life living amongst one another in a densely populated area like this is a genuine threat to fascism, because your neighbor may be somebody that the Republican Party tells you you're supposed to hate, but you know your neighbor and you like them, or you learn more about their culture or why they came here. Say they're from Venezuela, they were fleeing, you know, a U.S. sanctions regime that was a part of immiserating them, or they are from a different country where there's been political unrest. You'll understand that more, maybe have empathy for them in a way that I think is a real threat to what the Republicans are trying to do. And so they focus on cities for that very reason. This is where like art and culture happens because of that mixing of people. And it's a beautiful thing in my view. That's what's American to me.
It's almost like they don't want people to get along or like each other.
Yep.
So,
well, and the cooperation it takes to live in a city like this is also a threat to fascism.
Yeah.
You have to cooperate with everybody to cross the street, get on the subway. And that type of cooperation with people that you're supposed to hate is difficult, because in order to walk down the street in New York, it takes a lot of cooperation among people. But I have been so disappointed, and we can revert back to middle school, about the 3 co-equal branches of government, right? And we have seen little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson, who has been neutered and whose balls are in Kinks' desk in the Oval Office. We have also seen the Supreme Court completely abdicate their co-equal branch of power. And listener, you all, a lot of you know Josh, new listeners, he is a criminal defense attorney, and he's going to talk to us about this very dangerous shadow docket and what Kinks' plans are with the Insurrection Act, which Josh pointed out to me on our way here. He was like, the irony of him using the Insurrection Act.
Trump invoking the Insurrection Act.
Unbelievable.
It just seems like, where the fuck are we living? Like, what is going on here? Because I remember sitting like everybody else and watching 1-6, and you're just like, wow.
Yep.
It's like, how do I process this? The shadow docket is, it's pretty scary. Let me just say it, in the legal community, for people who are somewhat scholars. And the reason why it's sort of important is because for those of you that are non-lawyers, case law is precedent. There's a history of cases that helps other courts and other judges make decisions as to how they reason and why they decide what they decide. And what the shadow docket sort of does is it takes a case from an appellate court, and the Supreme Court's able to issue a 1 or 2, sometimes 1 sentence decision, and not provide any rationale or reason for why they're issuing that decision. And more importantly, and the way that it impacts judges, is it throws a whole line of cases in flux and tells the lower courts nothing about their decisions and why they decide this. And so you have all of these district court federal judges and appellate judges that are all just about ready to pull their hair out. I think the New York Times had a piece on interviewing maybe 80 judges, half of which were Republican, half of which were Democrats. And they're all just, and to get that many federal judges, number one, to even give an interview and talk about something like this is rare, but that shows the gravity of this situation because it throws everything into chaos in the lower courts. And ultimately what it's doing is diminishing the rule of law. Like nothing means nothing. Like you used to have certain principles and fundamental things that stood for something. Now you don't, because the Supreme Court, and for those of you that don't know, the shadow docket is just like an emergency docket where you can go to the Supreme Court, and if they decide to accept your case, both sides don't brief it, both sides don't give argument. They present very limited information to the court, and they can, if the court thinks that an emergency exists, they can issue a ruling or opinion. And literally, if you read an opinion on the shadow docket, it can be 2 or 3 sentences, and it provides no guidance.
Yeah.
And for example, one of the significant things they ruled recently was that you could take someone's racial, ethnic background and factor that into whether or not you can detain that person under the Fourth Amendment. You can decide that just because that person's Hispanic, you've got a right to seize him temporarily and ask him for his identification. And there's decades of case law that talks about how that's unconstitutional. And just within 1 or 2 sentences on the shadow docket, they've undone years, decades of precedent to talk about that. So that's the danger of it. People don't realize that that's what's going on in the legal system.
Well, if you were to have to write an opinion, you would have to have a variety of different footnotes that would explain the case law that you're describing, that the precedent would inform the decision that they're making. But because they're making it the fuck up, basically, they rely on these shadow dockets. And it's really a major problem, I would think, for the legal system going forward when hopefully we get out of this era of fascism. But is this whole era going to basically be a black hole for precedent? I mean, maybe that's a good thing given the nature of the decisions, but it's definitely not a good thing for the legal profession and for judges in this country.
It's not, and it diminishes, most people have a respect for the rule of law, whether you agree or disagree, like certain things about it. That's what it does here. It diminishes. Like we have a son who's a first-year law student, and we're so proud he's going to go be a lawyer, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, everything that Trump and this administration and the Supreme Court and others are doing is diminishing the value of all of those things. And in some ways, it also enhances the need to have good litigators. But at the same time, how can everybody be complicit in this? How can you have 9 justices, 6 of which have decided that they're going to bankrupt their souls and vote in favor of Donald Trump?
And I also want to point out to a lot of listeners that have groups of friends and relatives that say the following: I am fiscally conservative but socially liberal. And where we live, that statement provides a lot of people cover to go vote Republican because they care about their own personal tax spend. And then they can say, but I'm socially liberal, so that they can go to their gay hairdresser and feel like they're multicultural and that they're not just crusty old white fuckers, right? So here's the problem with the erosion of the court system for the fiscal conservatives. Fiscal conservatism is all about business, laissez-faire business, let it rip, let's go, right? When you don't have a court system to take a contract in, then the economy starts eroding and it starts eroding and it starts eroding. And you can look no further than Russia to see what has happened here. You have inflation out the wazoo. You have all of these oligarchs that went and bent the knee to Vladimir Putin. And then Vladimir Putin decides, I kind of want that company. And then this billionaire that bent the knee to Vladimir Putin is knocked out of a window. And here's the thing, you guys, it is not hyperbolic at all at this point to say that, look at the phones. Trump's kids, Dumb and Dumber, Eric and Don Jr., of course, Dumb and Dumber, like, we're going to have Trump phones. Look at this. We have Trump phones. You see Tim Cook go bend the knee, give him the trophy presentation, humiliating, especially considering the fact that Tim Cook is gay. but that's another podcast entirely when we dive into the psychology behind internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
But at some point, if he keeps getting all of this unchecked power, Kanks is going to be like, you know what? I really like Apple. Why don't we just take that and call it Trump? Why don't we just rebrand that whole thing? That's what he does. It's not like he comes up with any new ideas. I mean, he's building a ballroom, for God's sakes, and he can't even dance. He does that double jerk off old man dance thing all the time. And the centerpiece of this administration, the thing that his own press secretary says that he's top priority is building a $300 million ballroom.
Yeah.
And he can't even dance.
No, he can't. He can't even dance. But it's modeled a little bit off the Russian ballroom. I don't know if you've seen some of those images because, like, you know, Vladimir Putin is a good example of what he's trying to emulate, where it's casino capitalism. He is trying not to change our economic system in any egalitarian way. He's trying to use the power of the presidency to enrich himself in very direct ways, but also the merging of corporations and the state is the definition of fascism. Like, you see right now this headline that was just so horrifying to me, that there's this injection of private money into the United States military, and they're seeking out further private equity investments. We already have enough financial incentives to go to war. There's this thing called the military-industrial complex, but the United States military should be inculcated from that kind of thing. I mean, statutorily, I would imagine it is, but given what we're talking about with the legal system, it's very difficult to see how some of these challenges all make their way through. It's really horrifying, and then you just step back and you ask the question, how did so many people take our democracy for granted, and why was democracy not enough for people not to bring Donald Trump back into office after January 6th? Like, his approval rating leaving office was horrific. It's only beaten now by his minus 18 net approval rating that we're seeing right now. It's the lowest it's been, I think, since when he was in office. It might have been lower after January 6th when he left office. But putting that aside for just a second, the problem is that people weren't sold on the idea of democracy because, one, I don't think that the Democratic Party is practicing it internally. They're not listening enough to voices like yourself who are talking about AIPAC money. I mean, only 8% of Democrats in the poll in August, per Gallup, support Israel's military action in Gaza. An overwhelming majority, I think something like 70%, say that Israel is committing genocide. And yet a great majority of the Democratic Party is still supportive of Israel. Is that democracy between your voters and your core constituency and the party, or is that corruption? And then you even have the Joe Biden issue. A majority of Democratic voters didn't think he should run again. They took him at his word on that front. And he didn't listen. The party mechanism kept going and going. And we could have had a debate where that would have been a performance of democracy, where people could have heard, what do Democrats stand for? Or we could have hashed out those issues in the primary and people could have voted for somebody based on their viewpoint that would have been more representative of it and of them, and it would have given that candidate more legitimacy than, unfortunately, Harris wasn't able to pull through in that way, even though I do think she was handed a horrible hand by Joe Biden. But how do you sell people on the idea of small d democracy if you don't practice it yourself? And then it gets to the overarching question of, what is people's experience with democracy? And when you don't have democracy in your workplace, or you don't feel like you have the freedom to spend money or to build a life or to buy a home or work towards goals because you're in a cycle of debt or your wage isn't increasing or the prices of everything keep going up and up, there has to be some sort of egalitarian democracy for the economy as well, where people feel like they can move up or that they can have a chance. And so I do think that the Democrats lost on just selling the political democracy of showing up on election day, where they're not showing the requisite democratic responsiveness that would be an effective opposition party to a fascist like Trump. They're getting there, hopefully, but not this leadership. It's got to be something different.
I mean, Emmy, you said something that resonated with me, but when we're talking about 1/6, then we talk about how did we end up here?
Yeah.
I mean, in a nutshell, I would say the Democrats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I hate to be that blunt about it, but from where we live and where we sit in a red state in Oklahoma City, having an understanding of that environment and that rural upbringing that I had, the Democrats played it horribly bad.
And I don't mean to keep returning to the Democrats, but, the point is like what you're saying. How can we make change, right? And we are not in the constituency of the Republican Party. They don't care what I have to say about their failings. And the Republicans have been the villains my entire life. It's just, how are you an effective opposition party? How can you sell people on your vision? And we can talk till we're blue in the face about how the facts are on our side. We get it. But what you've been so good on, Jennifer, and it's just like pushing this forward. We've got to get the money out. We've got to, because it hamstrings the opposition. They're not able to say what they should say because they're corrupted.
We've got to get the money out. Democrats have got to quit doing focus groups and being disciplined about their answers. After I kind of got into it with Cory Booker, I told Josh about it. And Josh's response was, this is why they suck. Do you think Trump would blink? Do you think he'd hesitate for 2 seconds if you asked him a yes or no question? He'd fucking answer it. And then if one of his aides corrected him the next day, then he'd just change his mind again. But this whole word salad, I'm so disciplined, I'm not giving people a straight answer. It gives this elitism that I think I know better. Mm-hmm. I'm up here and all of the electorate is down here. And Josh was raised in Hugo, Oklahoma, which is a town of 5,000 people. And I guarantee you Trump won that county by 50 percentage points or something. And the thing with people in rural areas, and I found this statistic so fascinating. So when you look at Oklahoma, so red, not one county has gone blue like the last 5 election cycles. They're real proud of that.
There are 77 counties. They've all gone.
Yeah. All gone Republican. If you ask people individually, do you want marijuana to be legal? They did that like 5 or 7 years ago, and the electorate voted to legalize marijuana. If you ask them, are you for choice up to a point, the majority of Oklahomans say yes. If you say, are you for the rich paying their fair share in taxes? They say yes. If you ask everybody on an individual thing, even in deep red, religious, Bible-thumping Oklahoma, progressive single line item issues win. But the Republicans have done an incredible job propagandizing in red states via churches.
Yes.
And I remember growing up, and there are mega churches fucking everywhere. And I was on top of all of the prayer lists in all of those mega churches. But that's another podcast as well.
Oh, you told me about that story. It was a great story about, your background in that area and how Trump is like a evangelical preacher.
But the marquees on this church, I remember seeing this is, a long time ago. It'd be like, vote George Bush today.
Yeah.
And this is at the church. And if you think about this portion of the electorate and how much this portion of the electorate, I'm not talking about Christian light people, don't freak out. I'm not talking about Catholics. I'm talking about white evangelicals. They are the people who have fucked us so hard because they started this shit decades ago, long before Kanks ascended. And they are the people who leave us vulnerable. Where does Vladimir Putin enter the United States? Through the prayer breakfast. Where does the NRA go? Through the prayer breakfast. Project 2025. All this shit is rooted in white evangelicalism. And the Democratic Party has not answered the Republican Party crazy Christian component of this because they think, separation of church and state, we're not going to talk about it. You fucked up because these crazy Christians that have their roots in the KKK have made this a political issue, and you have to answer it. And that's why somebody like James Tallarico in Texas is very important. Now, for me, if it's a Muslim, if it's a Jewish person, if it's a Christian politician, they start talking about their faith, I'm an atheist. It's nauseating to me. However, this is a very religious first world country. And I think it's going to take some politicians like Andy Beshear and James Tallarico to go run as progressive Christians in these red states and take the same message the Zoran has, exact same.
You got to focus on class, though. They can't just do.
But Tallarico has a very great line. He says, and he won't throw the trans population under the bus. He said, everybody's worried about less than 1% of the population. They're worried about the wrong 1%.
It's a great line.
We need to focus on the other 1%. And then he talks about his faith and Jesus, blah, 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 blah. But this, to me, is such an effective way for Democrats to move forward. And it pissed me off to no end when Ezra Klein suggested that the Democrats should run pro-life candidates in red states. They've done it, and they all lose.
Yep.
Pro-life Democrats fucking get their ass beat because rural people aren't as dumb as you think. They just cannot stand people that are inauthentic. We all know Kanks is not authentic, but he reads to people as being authentic because he came out in 2016. And I remember Josh and I kind of liked it at first. He's like, Lion Ted.
Oh, it was funny.
Little Mark. I was like, finally, somebody's fucking calling out these sleaze bags.
Yeah, and he was also saying things like Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing this right now, where there are existing fractures in the MAGA base, where she's saying stuff that other Republicans aren't saying, like criticizing Israel or even criticizing some of Trump's tariff policies, because she's trying to set herself up for 2028. That's my.
She sees a post-MAGA world.
Exactly.
Because the strong man is frail, and that's when autocracies and dictators crumble. Because this dementia world tour in Asia that we have all seen is very alarming. I mean, he had the prime minister of Japan babysitting him and still got lost.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it happens at the end of every month-long cycle. And this is just hypothesizing, but that hand thing, there's some Alzheimer's drugs.
Some Adderall,
Look, you know, you got to do it, refresh every single month. But I mean, I think what you're hitting on is actually, you know, really important. So the Ezra Klein thing, I mean, that pissed me off to no end, too, because how many different people are we going to throw under the bus to avoid talking about class? Like the part of the elitism you're talking about is like what Cory Booker, he couldn't get away with on your show, he gets away with in every room that has donors in it, because he will talk about his identity. He will talk about being a black man. He'll talk about where he lives I'm from New Jersey, in New Jersey. And, you know, I think that kind of representation is important, but it can't be the only thing. But he'll rely on that because wealthy white people that want to think of themselves as anti-racist and donate to the Democrats, they want to hear that when they're in a room, and it flatters them, and then they get money. But for regular people, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? You're being asked a direct question. Can you answer it? It's this inauthenticity. And then with Ezra, the impetus to be like, what can we throw under the bus? What can we abandon in order to win these people? Right. Yeah. Women. People who can get pregnant. Like who? It was trans people. Now it's like
victims of incest in red states. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Except that you don't need to do that. We have seen that if you just lean into, people want their material conditions to be met. And you can have a candidate like Dan Osborne in Nebraska who doesn't have all of my, you know, social beliefs, but is focused, he's supported by unions, and he's running as an independent because a D next to your name is a little bit of an issue in that state. But you can have other candidates that run similarly with like an economic populist platform in other states that are more representative, say, of my full politics. You don't have to abandon people. You can avoid certain topics, but just emphasizing you're going to change people's material conditions is really important. The problem is that there's a consultant class that you mentioned earlier that gets paid millions and millions of dollars a year just to avoid that question. There is a whole rotten infrastructure in the Democratic Party that needs to be done away with because they are avoiding the simple answers in favor of donor money. And I go back to 2016 when Chuck Schumer said this openly. He said, for every, and I'm paraphrasing, but for every person we lose in rural America, or maybe it wasn't rural America, it was for every X person we lose, we will gain a suburban Republican voter. I'm paraphrasing a lot.
I remember that. It
was about basically reorienting the party more towards disaffected suburban Republicans. How has that worked out? How has that worked out? It is about micro-targeting a small sliver of the population with ads, which makes consultants very rich. They get fees on TV ads. You know what doesn't get fees? Canvassing, like Zoran did. Turning out people and volunteers. That doesn't pay consultants their fees. That's just good politics. But the Democratic Party has a whole infrastructure in place to avoid doing that kind of thing. And Obama was better at that. And look at what happened in 2008. So it's not just about, you know, the politics of it, which I'm trying to focus on this as somebody who's a democratic socialist, right? But it's also about the infrastructure that is rotten as well.
Well, let me make two quick points for me. From my perspective, number one, people do appreciate candidates that have conviction, regardless.
Yeah.
Sometimes you disagree with their policies, but if they have conviction, for the most part, that's going to gain you a lot. And number two, where I sit now in Oklahoma, we were so upset with the Democrats, not necessarily just the candidates, but the way that they message to people that live in rural red states. There's no chance that they're going to watch and listen and vote for that particular candidate. And it's just, if you don't understand rural America, then I would urge anybody running for any sort of national office to go spend time, go to a church, go to a rodeo, go do the things they do. It's completely different. And if you just don't get it, you don't get it.
Here's the problem with that's happening right now. And you kind of brought it up with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And Josh can attest to all of this. So in flyover states where we live, people don't think about Israel and Palestine at all. They don't. There's barely any Jewish population, barely any Muslim population, and it seems like a very far off place. When you get in major political circles, AIPAC money and Benjamin Netanyahu and genocide, it's a very pressing issue. But for swaths and millions of people all across the United States, they don't know. Recently, Josh was like, so what exactly is a Zionist? And so, I'm kind of explaining it to him. And he's an attorney.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer, and it's just not something.
My nephews that are attorneys, one's a federal marshal. They're both Democrats. We're like, yeah, that whole Palestine thing kind of fucked up, and I don't really understand what's going on there. Here's where Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'll be goddamned if she's this smart, her saying the following things is going to hit very hard with rural voters that don't pay attention or suburban voters that don't pay attention. When she says the following, MAGA and the Democrats are not America first. They are Israel first. People in Israel have health care and they get to go to college for free and you pay for it and you're going medically bankrupt. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is an anti-Semite. She's a bigot. She's a homophobe. She's a grifter. She's an opportunist. Yak, yak, blah, blah. But Josh, who lived in a town of 5,000 people, that is a simple message that the Democrats should be owning, 100%. Screaming, browbeating instead of nuanced conversations. It's so simple to say it. But everybody feels like they've been checkmated, like, oh, I have these Jewish friends and I don't want to hurt their feelings. And the situation is the Democrats should take leadership on this and say, what we're talking about is different than you supporting your Jewish friends. It's completely different. We're talking about a regime that deserves to be criticized in the same way that you hope as an American right now that people criticize Donald Trump. I don't see any criticism of Donald Trump, a criticism of my being an American. Actually, the patriot in me, which I rarely use that word, welcomes that sort of criticism. And I wish that our allies would act more like President Xi did with him. And I wish that they would quit bending the knee and kissing his ass like the oligarchs do. And I think that is one of the more pro-American things you can do. So we're in a very dangerous situation where you have a large majority of the electorate that doesn't understand or know about this foreign policy issue, number one. And number two, and this is going to hurt a lot of people, but a lot of them don't give a fuck because they're going to the doctor and the doctor says you need an MRI. And I'm so sorry your insurance isn't going to pay for it. And we think it's cancer, but there's nothing we can do.
But Marjorie Taylor Greene is connecting those two issues disingenuously, as you say. Yep. I really am scared about that because she is actually anti-Semitic. You are seeing the rise in anti-Jewish hatred on the right in particular with figures like Candace Owens. And Tucker Carlson just had Nick Fuentes on, who's a neo-Nazi. I mean, he's
I think
being
Tucker's
normalized.
going to run.
Oh, I think that's a good hypothesis. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene's got her eye on that too, but she's got the whole woman thing. That might be a little bit of a problem with Republican voters, but I digress. I think like that simple message, it's isolationist and where you're saying like as if, I don't know, we couldn't also have healthcare here as well. I mean, we could tax billionaires and keep funding Israel. I don't think it's a binary choice, although I do not think we should be definitely funding a country that's committing a genocide. But you hear the way Marjorie Taylor Greene frames it, right?
Simple.
Where it's very simple. It makes about people's material reality. when you dig a little deeper, she's a Christian nationalist, and she is like anti-Jewish in the way where she tweeted back at AIPAC something about, I'm not going to take your shekels or something. It's like, whoa.
Well, and she's a rapture prepper.
Right.
You know, Josh said to me when this whole Israel thing, really started steaming up during the last election, Josh goes, why is it that all the politicians I hate, like Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio, they're the biggest Israel thumpers?
Because it's about being bought by the military-industrial complex. Because the reason that this issue is so important isn't just because it's like the fundamental human rights issue of this current time. It's also because it's a stand-in for, are you bought by corporate interests or are you not? Can you be brave on this issue or can you not be? And people trust you if you can be brave on it because it's a shorthand. Okay, that person's not bought by X amount of money. They're going to say how they feel. And so I think that's part of what the Democrats are slow to catch up to about.
Well, and that's unfortunate because you then have politicians that can't speak their mind and give honest opinions and answers, like Cory Booker on your show. You're handicapped.
You hurt the credibility of the party.
But there's also, and this isn't to sound to minimize this issue, but most of the people in rural America don't care about this issue.
Don't care.
And I'm not.
I hear you on that. I just get on my soapbox.
I agree, but I do, and so does Jennifer. Like we care greatly about it.
I think the Democrats need to message, and Zoran talks about this, universal human rights.
Exactly.
And they can message it, but they take advantage of the fact these rural voters and suburban voters, people that live in very homogenous neighborhoods, whether that's urban, suburban, or rural, like white areas, they take for granted these voters because they know they're already in their silos. And the Democratic Party is looking to flip these elusive independents, and they're always looking for this elusive voter. And I think the reason that this podcast is so popular is because of the optics of us, Southern, middle-aged white women. It's like, oh shit, they're progressive. I thought they would be, we look kind of Fox News coded, et cetera.
But it's so condescending.
Right.
I'm sorry. It just is.
I also think it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
The reason we're novel, I think, is also somewhat sad, but I think that there is a movement forming, and I think there are fissures in the MAGA movement, and I think there are fissures in the Democratic Party right now. And these fissures are really, really getting traction. On the right, you have the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Tucker Carlsons, that they are seeing that the strong man is frail, and that's what ultimately crumbles these forms of strong men. When he's frail, dementia, all of the stuff, they're seeing curtains. And Moses Mike Johnson is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. He's going down with Kanks. And then on the right, you have these fissures forming. And, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuckles, Cory Booker's, they're going to have a hard time surviving.
Yeah,
because
hopefully.
The Democratic base is really, really pissed. And when I think about it, and Josh was so mad about this before me, that Biden didn't drop out sooner. Yeah. He was so fucking mad. And he was like, I'm so fucking mad at the Democrats. It pisses me off. I can't believe they didn't do anything about January 6th. He was so fucking mad. And it's unfortunate that the burden always falls on our side to do the right thing. But look how depraved the right is.
Yeah.
They are so morally depraved, and they have no problem passing the big heaping pile of dog shit bill and telling people that somehow, like Mike Johnson and Ted Cruz, they Christian signal, they use their faith to make it sound like, oh, we're doing everything that Jesus wants us to do. And it's really abhorrent. But I have seen so many white women who have a lot of money lately, whose husbands are now calling them communists because that's how far left they've gone. And that's anecdotal. But the more and more I talk to people, the more I realize one of two things happened to you with Trump. You either became worse of a human being. If you triple Trumped, with each time that you did that, you became worse and worse and worse. And you could look no further than like Marco Rubio and his lost soul to see how damaging it is to do that.
Right.
Or you've become more and more progressive, and you have, like, I used to be a good MSNBC Democrat. I was really good at it. And no disrespect to MSNBC. A lot of people on there do a lot of good work. But I really started digging deeper, like, why are they so robotic?
Yeah.
Why can't they beat these people? This should be a layup, and they can't beat them. And you start digging into it, and the corporate Dem thing is so real.
I think that you're right about like the fight between the Republican base might end up being more fractious than what I see unifying like momentum right now, at least within the Democratic base. The politicians, that's the disconnect, is the Democratic representatives and our leadership are not stepping up here. But I do see that the base is kind of understanding like the billionaires are the problem here. And we can tax the hell out of them and provide incredible services for a population. And that's de-radicalizing in and of itself. Like, you know, there's like academic papers on when people's material conditions are worse, things like domestic violence increase because men feel like they have no agency in their professional life and they take it out on their spouse. And there's different other kinds of, you know, crime that leads to, or violence, because the way to make a safer society is to make sure that people's basic material needs are met. And that's been something that's been really radicalizing. And at my old gig, I was going to basically one Trump rally a week, and it would be like in Eastern Tennessee or in Northern, you know, Florida or whatever. So like, I'm not saying I've lived in the South for a while, but I did do that for a little while early on in my career. And what you notice is that it's a perverse sense of community, but when you go to these MAGA rallies, it's people that feel like they have some sense of community. And we're so atomized and we're in our cars and going to work and 9 to 5 and you come home, or maybe you have to do another job as an Uber driver because you can't support your family, and people feel like they're on a razor's edge economically. And so they retreat to something like that, whether it's the mega church or it's the Trump rally, where they feel like they have a common purpose. And what I hope can come out of this is that the liberals and the left base can come together with a common purpose of building a durable opposition to fascism. Because when you talk about not prosecuting January 6th, like everything that Biden did, it's just wiped out. I mean, totally. There's no durability because they didn't provide a movement.
It's easy just not to want to just be mad about that every second of every day. And I try my best not to be. But another thing, and I posed this to Jennifer on the way over here, if you're in an argument or if I'm in a jury trial against opposing counsel and they're lying or they're cutting below the belt, and I stand up and I am full of integrity and I am going to do the right thing, and then I'm going to get my ass kicked every single fucking time. Now, it doesn't mean I have to be a liar, but I have to be able to recognize that and call it out. And the Democrats, if they don't get a solution for that, if they don't have some kind of fundamental understanding that they play this game and we're playing this game, if there's no appreciation for that as just a premise, then they will lose every single time, because you're dealing with people that are pathological fucking liars that spread propaganda. And you want to truth your way out of that. And you want to integrity your way out of that. And you want to do this, and you're going to get your ass fucking kicked every time.
This is why I'm a proponent of Fuck You Politics, brought to you by progressives. I mean, I just think we have to, like right now, Glenn Beck and Fox News and what's his name, Tim Pool, are really mad at me. Mm-hmm. And I'm going viral. Like I only am on Instagram. It's the only social media that I do. And that's just to watch tennis videos and French bulldogs. So I got on my Instagram and it's like, die bitch, you're a tranny, all of these horrible, horrible things. So I text the producer of our show and I'm like, Kylie, am I going viral right now? And she goes, yes, you are. Fox News, Glenn Beck, Tim Pool. And I'm like, what's this about this time? And they said, they say that you want to kill conservatives. I'm like, what? Did I ever say, what? And it was that clip of this wine mom, like older than me even, at like No Kings. And this Christian commentator is like, are you sad that Charlie Kirk's dead? And the lady was like, no, I'm really not. He was not a good person. Yeah. Like, I don't like the guns, but I'm not sad. She's like, would you be sad if I died? And the lady's like, well, I'd have to think about that. So after that clip, I say to our podcast audience, this is where the Democrats are right now. It's more of a fuck your feelings, you know? And so, of course, they're melting down, stage 5 meltdown by once self-proclaimed alpha male Tim Pool, who clearly is a titty baby.
You should go back and check out my debate with him if you want some fun content. He had a complete meltdown. Yeah.
Okay, Emma, let's have a little bit of fun.
Sure.
We're going to play our world famous game, Had It or Hit It. And Josh, I'm gonna leave you. You can do this too, since you're our guest co-host.
Oh, I get to participate.
You get to participate in this.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh my God! Welcome to Had It or Hit It. I would hit it. Had it. I hit it every day, sometimes twice a day. Had it or hit it. Ice.
Had it with ICE. I mean, this Gestapo that's terrorizing communities is absolutely out of control. These fat asses that have no training, they are disgusting thugs that should be treated like pigs on our streets. They are horrible, horrible people. And AOC in 2018 was being called a radical for saying abolish ICE. ICE didn't exist before 9/11. We can abolish ICE. It came out of the war on terror, and it does not need to exist. We can have a much more humane immigration system than what we're seeing right now.
I do want to add to this. There are 2 ICE agents in Illinois that refused to participate, that they walked off. And so I hit those guys.
Hit those agents.
2 guys.
Okay, that's
but
a
the
good.
rest of them I've
Had it. There we go.
Okay, you guys, had it or hit it, Katie Miller.
Oh, had it.
Okay, Josh, Katie Miller is the wife of Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is the little 4-foot troll.
Yeah, I didn't know who she was. I'm sorry.
And she just did she started a podcast, and now she's been on she was on Piers Morgan and had a stage 5 meltdown.
Yep.
And got in a fight with, I guess, is it your former boss?
Yeah, I saw that, and it was amazing. She accused it was like an anti-Semitism accusation because I forget what he said.
She was raising Jewish children, she said. And he goes, nobody's talking about your kids or you being Jewish.
I mean, I've had it with her and her Nazi-ass husband.
Okay, had it or hit it, centrism.
Had it.
I would have to say that goes against
pick a side.
Having any kind of balls and standing for something. There's no way everybody's going to agree with you, but have some balls, stand up for something, have some conviction. People respect that more than they do people that will lie and speak out of both sides of their mouth and say whatever.
Right.
I agree. And I think centrism is like the pick-me of politicians. They don't want to make anybody dislike them. Therefore, they are forgettable.
It's also why we're here.
Exactly.
You can't make milquetoast centrist cases. You have to make your argument. Don't be afraid of making your argument. And that is how you build a political brand. I don't know if we're doing lightning round, but this is just one point I wanted to push in there is just like after 2012, the Republican Party sent out a memo saying we need to rehaul all of our immigration because they lost so badly with Latino voters. We need to rethink immigration. We need to be more friendly to immigrants. That was what the Republican internal memo was saying. 2016, next election cycle, presidential election cycle, Trump comes in, is vicious, disgusting to immigrants. And the metrics didn't reflect that. But he has indelibly changed, for the worse, the immigration debate forever because he just made his argument.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Had it or hit it, Riley Gaines.
Had it. I mean...
Do you know who she is?
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
Josh is so...
Mediocre swimmer tied for 5th place.
She is this woman that tied for 5th place against a trans female swimmer. And she has made a career off of tying for 5th place. So here's the thing.
They're still trotting this narrative out.
If the trans person hadn't swam in that race, she still would have gotten 5th.
She's just mad she had to tie.
Mad that she
tied. And now she's like a conservative influencer about it. I mean, there is nothing more that right-wingers get mad about than white cis women like you or me defending trans women, because they like to think of themselves as the savior of white women because trans women, they say, are like either rapists or threats or gonna ruin our sports. They didn't care about women's sports until they got to crap on trans women. They were making fun of the WNBA my whole life.
Totally.
But because we look like the kind of women that, like, you know, white supremacists like to hold up as the ones that they're saving from the racist black and brown and trans and LGBTQ hordes, they get really triggered when you stand up for trans people. That's my experience.
Let me add that I want the Democrats to be as diabolical as Republicans are on this issue of trans athletes.
Yeah.
I would like a Democrat with all of these issues that we have in our favor to take one of those and then just get twisted and fucking diabolical.
And go. Here's
like
something.
that, and not just get twisted, but just nail it.
I've got it right here.
All right.
The DL Demon Queen problem that exists in MAGA.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I think there's a lot of evidence, and I get major gaydar pings from, as you know, Moses Mike Grinder Johnson, Josh Hawley, failed drag queen, smoky eye sociopath, J.D. Vance, who we refer to as Little Smokey, Marco Rubio, and
Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott.
And I think that here's the problem with a lot of these MAGA men, and I think we should just go. Number one, I read a report that the number one consumers of trans porns are red cities. The epicenter of all consumption of trans porn watching is Lawton, Oklahoma.
Oh my God.
Lawton, Oklahoma. And then you just sweep through the Bible Belt. And so I think the Democrats need to be this fucking diabolical. Why are you picking on trans people during the day, and then behind your wife's back, you're beating off to trans porn, Lindsay? What's going on there? Moses Mike Grinder Johnson, what's going on with your Grinder account? And why do you have this roommate that is an evangelical preacher that answers his door in his panties per your neighbors when you come home from work?
Good
as
question.
Speaker of the House. And I think they should pound it right into their heart of their faux masculinity, because at the end of the day, a lot of these MAGA men have been watching porn, and here's what's happened. They saw an erect penis, and maybe that was when it happened.
Or they came and then felt a lot of shame. And then trained it. I mean, that's kind of what it is,
and then they think,
right?
oh my God, that was kind of gay. And then they go crazy, and then it's like, I'm anti-trans, I'm anti-gay. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Also, if you are insecure about your masculinity, you need to really, really define what is women and what is female and male, right? Like, these are men that they overcompensate because they're so insecure about their masculinity that they create really rigid rules, and it burns you up inside.
Yeah, but I think it's there for the taking. Like, the Democrats have these issues that would resonate with people if they can just simply get them out there. But with these Republicans, you're gonna have to have some fucking crazy in you. You're gonna have to be diabolical. You're gonna have to get mud on your face.
Like it.
You're gonna have to get down in the mud with them. And I'm sorry, but you can't go low here.
How would Hugo, Oklahoma like that if somebody just came out, started just Moses Mike Johnson is clearly on Grindr and he's lying to you, and just
all of that stuff would resonate because, and we can't underestimate this. What resonated about Trump in 2016 was that he was unorthodox and would say what came to his mind. I'm not saying it's authentic. I'm not saying I agreed with it, but it resonated. He was a different type of politician. Whether you agree or disagree, he was different.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that
last
resonated.
one.
Yeah.
Last one. This is a tricky one.
Okay.
Had it or hit it, the United States of America.
Hit it. It's testing me right now. But in the end of the day, why I do what I do, it's definitely not for the money. It's because I love the country. And I do believe in humanity overall. We're in a really dark period right now. But I do think that the country can be better. I think that we can provide more things for people. We're the wealthiest nation in the world. There's no reason that we should currently have a record of credit card debt that people are experiencing, that month over month that people are defaulting more and more on their car payments. We're getting in this amazingly economic precarious situation, or that we have thugs deployed by the federal government breaking up families because they tried to come to this country for a better life. I grew up with the idea that we are a nation of immigrants, and that was a value that was instilled in me. And I think we can do that again. It's just that we're in a very dark period right now, and we need an opposition party that can make that case and make it with their chest, and don't equivocate and don't hide from it. And you've been doing such great work, Jennifer, seriously, on making it so that, you know, it's we weren't, my wing of the party was not listened to that much over the past 8 years, and our support for Bernie Sanders and people like the Squad. But I think the base is starting to see that those are the real fighters, and those are the people that are equipped to fight, because they're not bought.
Yep.
I would say hit it for some of the same reasons that Emma said, but for the main reason that when I go to court in, for example, Paws Valley, Oklahoma, or when I go to court in Mangum, Oklahoma, most people that I talk to, if you get out of this political spectrum of being on social media, all the interactions I have with people, they're pretty kind. They're pretty nice. People are inherently good in general. And if you can remove all of this bullshit, all this toxic bullshit that's in our life every day, you see that. Whether it's, for a long time, I had to go visit with this one prosecutor to try to work out a really nasty case.
You remember that one?
This is so funny.
No, and he's got the picture of Trump being shot
Here's the fight
on his door, and he's a prosecutor, and he's a good friend.
Okay.
But I would walk in and we would talk, and I'm from a small town, so I know the drill. Like I get it.
I have Republican friends. It's
But he and I were friends, and like I could literally, if something happened, I could call him at any point in time. He would do anything. But people just in general, like I lost my wallet that was attached to my phone at the mall, and someone pulled it up and found my driver's license in it and it had a credit card and drove it straight to my house and put it in my mailbox. And it's just little things like that. When you see people, they're inherently good. Most people are. And don't lose sight of that when you're reading through all of this toxic shit that gets on our feed every single day. Don't lose sight of that. Regardless of what party they identify with, most people have a good heart.
I will just one more thing. Michael Brooks was the co-host of my show before he passed, before I joined, actually, tragically. And he used to say, I'm paraphrasing again, but be kind to people, but ruthless to systems and institutions. And I think that's a pretty good guiding light.
That is 100%. So good.
That's 100%. Like, and don't be silent or complicit. But at the same time, that's good.
That is so good. All right, listen, thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. I was on Emma's podcast, so we met virtually, and this is our first time to meet in real life.
Yeah.
Josh, thank you for co-hosting. Listener Pumps will be back from her lesbian sexcapade in Maine next week.
Give her my best.
Yeah, and maybe she'll pull up to the podcast in a U-Haul.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be really exciting.
Could she help me move some things into my new apartment? I need some help.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Patriots, gay triots, they triots, black triots, brown triots, and the people who don't support them can fuck off. Fuck off. That's right. You guys, it is a big time in the big city. We have a big time guest, Jen Psaki with MSNBC, but I think it's going to be MS Now.
It is.
I think you should do
jazz hands. Jazz hands.
I think I think Rachel Maddow should go, welcome to MS Now.
Yes. And anyone who doesn't like it can fuck off.
Yes.
Start there.
That's exactly. Yes.
We welcome you, even if you don't like it yet. Please come like it.
I know. I'm excited about it, though.
I am too.
The rebrand.
I'm very excited.
I think it's an opportunity for a feeling of at least getting away from all the capitulators.
It's funny you say that. I've been thinking about how it feels like a healthy divorce.
Right.
When you look at the other side and you're like, I'm ready to move out now, and I'm ready to move into our space. And I'm really excited about the reporters who are coming to MS Now, who are already with us. I mean, people who have, Carol and Ken have broken, I don't know, it feels like a story every day.
Yes.
And they're part of what we're going to be doing. And a lot of what we do is storytell and not bullshit and just tell people what's happening. And that's exciting to be a part of and to be our own world of it.
You know, I've been on CNN, and then I was on the MSNBC weekend. And people ask me what the difference is. And the difference is this. When you're on CNN, you have to walk in and have regressive conversations. You have to argue about decided facts and people saying that, no, that isn't a fact. This is the truth. And when I was on MSNBC, I was on with, by the way, is so attractive in person, Eamon Milholding. Yeah.
You know, his wife is like a model, but
I follow him on Instagram. They are gorgeous.
And he's so nice. It's
so nice.
Much.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
And smart, all the things.
But I was on his show, and it was so refreshing because the facts are just assumed, and then you can get into the nuance of conversation, policy, grievances, whatever. But on other networks, it's like, this is so regressive that we're debating a fact.
Let's not debate the sky's blue. The sky's blue,
right?
And I don't think we have to have another side of, was it the pros and cons of Letitia James being indicted, right? There are no pros.
There are no pros.
There are many cons. Here are all the things with it. That is one of the things I so appreciate. And I remember when I started, I can't remember. It may have been Ari Melber, actually, who has done a lot of interesting reporting on criminal justice reform and things. And he said to me, one of the things that's really exciting is that you can decide to do an 8-minute package on criminal justice reform and talk to people who are experts. And you don't have to feel like you have to present 100 sides of the issue. You're trying to inform the audience with information and nuance and a depth of details that you don't have the luxury of doing even on a range of networks and a range of mediums right now.
Well, what have you had it with? That's the number one thing we got to talk about.
I love this. I've had it with so many things. Right now, first of all, I'm just going to start with the political one because here we are. I have had it with little Mike Johnson
cannot stand him.
Taller John Thune. Don't forget to have had it with him, who pretend like they are powerless observers of the shutdown of anything you can do in Washington. Little Mike Johnson is second in line to the presidency.
Yeah.
He is the most powerful person in Congress. There are many things you can do to end the shutdown, to pay military troops, to make sure people have healthcare subsidies. And John Thune is walking around. He's a new addition to my Have Had It group. Is walking around like, I don't know.
We've neglected him. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Please add him.
I have totally neglected him because his silence is really causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, and he behaves as if, I guess we'll see what happens. You're the leader of the Senate.
Have you ever seen this many emasculated men that are so terrified of so many things in your life? Can you imagine being a conservative and navigating a remote control? Jimmy Kimmel. Stephen Colbert, Bad Bunny, a Cracker Barrel commercial, a drag queen, a gay person, a black person, a Spanish-speaking person. I mean, these people are so terrified all the time, yet they want to talk about how masculine they are. And it's like, bitch, please.
Bitch, please. That's the tell.
Little dick energy on steroids.
It's really, that is such a, because I feel like Donald Trump himself, just to go back to that guy, has like remember that game Battleship we used to play?
Yes, I loved it.
He's got a game of Battleship and kind of little military figures that he's like moving around. And it would be funny, except it's not funny
it's so
because
dangerous.
It's a horror show. But that is what this is about. This is like, I am weak and small, so I'm going to play Battleship over here, and I'm going to tell the military what they're going to do, and I'm going to send them into cities because I need to feel bigger.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I get Pete Hegseth, who's a complete fucking moron, completely not qualified to do what he's doing. And he's running the Battleship. And that scares me. Mm-hmm. Like for national security, everything else, I feel like our enemies are looking, saying, these bozos couldn't stop a clock. So,
our enemies are taking the dub.
Oh,
I mean, this is
fantastic.
This is
for them.
a W for all. I mean, this is, they don't have to do anything.
No.
China, Russia, they can just sit back and go, have at it.
This is such a good point because, I spent a couple years with the State Department, and when you have foreign leaders come visit, and they do this in other capitals too, you get all this briefing materials of what is the coverage of them in their countries, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what are their vulnerabilities. Imagine what that packet of information looks like for a briefing when somebody's going to meet with Trump. It's like, flatter him.
Tell him he has
he's
big
physically
hands.
Looking good and his hands are big.
Good golfer.
Yeah, he's a great golfer. Mm-hmm. And what else do you say about him? And then maybe you'll get what you want from him. That's the kind of briefing they're getting. And I, Jay Johnson, who's the former Secretary of Homeland Security, made this point on my show last night, which is, it's like, the United States usually, when you're traveling with Secretary of State or Secretary of Defense or the president, we're imperfect. We have a long history of being imperfect. But you usually go to other countries and you say, if you don't improve your human rights, if you don't treat the media with respect, if you don't treat freedom of speech and expression with respect, we're going to have a conversation about the kind of, money we provide to you, right? You have these conversations. Now, how do we go into other countries and have conversations about how they treat the media, how they treat freedom of expression, how they treat the right to gather, all of these issues that we are now grappling with in our own country?
What about the inverse of that? We talk a lot about corporate capitulation, university capitulation, all of the Republican Congress, the national security guys. But what about our allies? Are they capitulating in a sense by going along when they meet with the United States of America, like Jay Carney was in the Oval? And while they are piling on effusive praise to this malignant narcissist dictator, Trump, and we're not on the verge of an authoritarian takeover. We're right in the middle of it. Are our allies capitulating by kissing his ass and not saying, we're not going to do deals with you if you are denying people due process. You are on human rights watch lists.
Right.
Our relationship is different. So what do you think, having been at the State Department, about that look at it. I mean, it's very Neville Chamberlain-esque, in my opinion, of our allies to go along with this.
Yeah, and you kind of want that Hugh Grant moment.
Yes.
Remember that Hugh Grant moment where he says, we are not a small country, we are whatever he says. I don't know yet. And I think they're making this calculation clearly in their own strategy meetings. Some of them just go flatter him and it will help us get what we want, right? Maybe we can get him back on board with being on the right side of the war in Ukraine, which is a crazy thing, but that's where we are. Maybe it will help him. It will help push him back from pushing all these tariffs. That hasn't worked yet in most regards, but I think they're calculating if we can just flatter him a little bit, we'll treat him like they treat him like a child a bit, right? Does that work? I don't think we know yet, but that seems to be the calculation.
Well, and people in his administration have really, like J.D. Vance, who we refer to as Lil Smokey, short for Smokey Eye Sociopath. So Lil Smokey has said
some very smoky eye.
It's so smoky.
He said some very disparaging things about Europe. And of course, Elon Musk is with that far right German party, and then he's meddling in UK politics. And it feels like there is this desire from dark forces. This is my theory, and you can tell me what you think about it. Like, Trump has the cult, he keeps it together. Our allies and adversaries know how to flatter him, but also the people within the White House know how to flatter him. What are his number one things? Are his decorating and arts and crafts projects. He's building an arch. We've seen the Oval Office. He's got his ballroom. He's selling watches. He has his online thrift shop.
The watches.
And all of the people that work for him, like particularly when you get to Stephen Miller and then J.D. Vance, and then you just peel back who they're associated with. People that would never get into politics, that think they're better than that. Like I'm talking Peter Thiel and other oligarchs. And I feel like they are really trying to concentrate the power in the executive because biology is going to catch up with Trump. None of these guys can win a general election. The cult will completely fall apart. So they have to consolidate in the executive, go full tilt authoritarian so that Lil Smokey can come in and execute this crazy plan that these weirdos, Peter Thiel and this guy named Curtis Yarvin have, that they have decided we no longer should have a democracy.
I think the little Manchurian candidate, J.D. Vance, wants to be president more than anything else. I always wonder what's going on in the mind of his wife. Like, are you okay? Please blink 4 times.
Yes.
We'll come over here. We'll save you. And that he's willing to do anything to get there. And that your whole iteration you just outlined, I mean, he's scarier in certain ways.
He's smarter.
In some ways. And he's young.
And ambitious.
And agile in the sense that he is a chameleon who makes himself into whatever he thinks the audience wants to hear from him. Now, what's also true, though, is J.D. Vance is not – he's in some ways goodish on paper if you like what he believes in. I don't know. But I don't know that he can take the whole movement with him.
No way.
I don't think so either.
There's no riz.
It's got no riz, right?
None.
And he just is a little odd. And
Totally.
So Trump's odd in a different way. So I'm skeptical of that. So yeah, he's got to. I mean, everything going on right now, and I think we have to be very clear-eyed about this, is about trying to manipulate the public around elections. And so even pre-J.D. Vance ascension or attempt for J.D. Vance to ascend, we're looking at the midterm elections next year. And J.B. Pritzker's called this out. Gavin Newsom has called this out. These troops in the streets, these attempts to, manipulate the elections by doing these middle of the process redistricting. This is all about making it harder to participate in the process, making it harder for Democrats and for people who want to support these candidates, and even just people who want to check on the power of Trump to participate. That's what this is all about. So that's just the lead up to taking greater and greater and greater control, and even taking the military underneath his wing, taking the press, which they're completely reshaping the whole press room and who covers the president. All of this is consolidation of power and consolidation of information to the public. And that's what it's about, is maintaining power.
And then you have Fox News that's got all the boomers that don't get on social media. Okay, so here's my we've been talking about this. The press corps that goes to those ridiculous propagandists press secretary, which I want to get to, but this is on this point. Is there going to be a time that the press says, we're not doing this. We are not covering this president or this press secretary because all they do is lie. And so you can have Peter Doocy, you can have, whoever the podcaster of the day is, Benny Johnson can get in there and just go for it. Is that something we can see? Because I don't see another avenue to getting the truth out unless there's like some type of pushback from the press, which we're seeing the Pentagon press do more than I've seen the White House press do.
It's a very good question. Here's the challenge of that. If I would say Peter Doocy, bless his heart, is not as bad as Benny Johnson. This is the world we're living in. Like the rank order of options. Is that if the Associated Press and the Washington Post and the New York Times and ABC News say, you know what, we're walking out of this White House briefing room, that's the best thing that could ever happen to Donald Trump and Caroline Leavitt, because that's what they're trying to reshape without saying they're doing it. And in that room, and this is what I find to be so challenging, is the things that are happening behind the scenes that you can't always see or know unless you've lived it. And I think this is true in law firms and the Department of Justice and places too. Is that in that briefing room, the Benny Johnsons of the world are slowly but surely taking over more and more of the questions in the briefing, right? And having a greater and greater presence in these press pools where you have a smaller group of reporters in the Oval Office. And sometimes Trump and a foreign leader will take 45 minutes of questions. And it's Benny Johnson and little Benny Johnson, whoever that may be. And yes, maybe there's one or two other real reporters. But the problem is they're taking up so much real estate. So if all of these other reporters leave, that's all the real estate. And then you know what we have? We have what the Kremlin press corps is.
Right.
Yep.
And that's the challenge. So if you're these reporters, I don't know what the answer is and what you do. There's still very smart people in there. They're just getting overtaken in terms of space and real estate by people the White House selects to say things like, Donald Trump looks so good in his workout. What is his workout? That was literally a question one day.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing, so I'm going to tell you what a big nerd I am.
We're all nerds. It's a safe place.
Yeah. So I get on social media, and then when I would get home after work, I would watch your press conferences when you worked for Biden.
Oh my God. God bless you. Thank you.
Just to see, what's the real story before I got into the meat of it. Because I was like, okay, what's the White House saying? Because I'm getting all this disruption. And I think that it's precious for the United States to have a representative of the president to come out and talk about policy. You had a stack of books this tall. I couldn't even believe all the crap you went through. Now I am enraged every time I see Caroline Leavitt, who prays before she goes out there and lies her fat ass off. So she goes out there and lies, and it's propaganda after propaganda. Is there no check on that? Is there no I guess there's no law that the press secretary has to be honest. But when she acts I can't even believe you would insinuate Donald Trump would make money off of the presidency as the Trump watches are going. So is there no rules or anything? I guess they don't care about rules. But does that break your heart to see what it's been turned into?
It does. And I say this as obviously I worked in Democratic politics for 20 something years. I'm not shy about my views. But even for people who like Dana Perino, or dare I say even Sean Spicer, I don't know if I should use him as an example. It's a very different briefing room now than it was then. Dana Perino is probably a better example of this, right? I disagree with Bush on a bazillion things, right? But you had to go in there and answer questions from the same type of reporters, and often the same reporters I had to answer questions from. And this is a part of how the United States is unique as a democracy, is that you do have a person who goes out there at the White House and answers questions, even on days, and believe me, there are some days where you before you walk out into that room, you're like, oh shit. Yeah, there's no information. That's not the reporter's fault. Yeah. It's there's nothing I can offer, and they're going to just yell at me for 45 minutes. It's sad because there aren't so many people who've ever done that job. And what it feels like, it is diminishing the job. It is diminishing the role of the press secretary, the honor of being in that job, which is speaking on behalf of the United States of America, which sometimes it's edgy. A lot of times it's not. Sometimes it's, people think it's boring, but it's important. And this is really changing what it is and what the expectations are around it. And that is sad for the White House. It's sad for the institution. It's sad for anyone who's had that job. And it really takes it away as something that the American people can rely on as at least a source of information.
One thing that I think he's really good at, Trump, and Republicans in general, is they are they are
I don't know. I'm not sure.
They are constantly promoting what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And Biden, in my opinion, he knew how to govern. Loads of experience, knew how to reach across the aisle, knew how to get shit done. But there wasn't a lot of marketing that accompanied the successes that he had. And because everything has changed, and it's the really weird thing being a Democrat, because like when Obama was in office, we had all the young techie people and kind of controlled social media. Well, that narrative has really switched. And now I feel like we're the conservative party, not in the sense of our values, but in the sense that people are not progressing forward within the Democratic Party. They are sticking to the status quo, like I've never seen the party do. So in that regard, if we get to midterms and if we ever get a Democratic president, having been the press secretary, what do you think, and now what the American public is used to, obviously honesty is first, but don't you think the Dems need to razzle dazzle and perma-campaign their presidency, because now the public is primed for that? We can't just go back to, well, today the president did. I'm not saying you did that, but it's going to have to be more entertaining. Would you not agree?
Totally. I mean, Democrats, God bless their hearts. Some are better than others, are holding on to, like, remember the running CD Discman? Right?
Yes.
But not in a cool, vintage, ironic way, right?
Yeah.
It's still, it's interesting. When I started my job as the press secretary, well, actually, I'll go back a little before that. When Donald Trump won the first time, and we all thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, and we had binders ready for the people we knew who were working for Hillary Clinton, because I was Obama's communications director, and I was there at the time. We would have suggested them, they could have done what they wanted, to change all sorts of things about the briefing room, the way engagement with the press works, because it's been archaic for a very long time. And there's not enough thought put into what the thought should really be about is how do you reach the broad public out there that doesn't press refresh on whitehouse.gov. And that's key. That should be the guide, because the American public is your constituency. And the briefing room is only a part of it, of course. I know you're not just asking about that, but I think it's about rethinking the modes of communication, how you use your own platforms.
Right.
I mean, I love Joe Biden extremely deeply, which I don't know. I know I don't have to say to both of you. He was never going to be a natural TikTok person, right? And there were reasons we didn't have TikTok because of national security concerns. Frankly, I think everybody running for president and who want to be leaders should have TikTok, or whatever the new iteration of it is. It's always evolving, and should really think about not, do I feel good because my written piece was in the Washington Post, which, by the way, nobody reads.
I also think that all departments of government should have social media.
100%.
I think that in order to, I think you've got to govern smart, govern honestly, and govern with style, and govern with an entertainment lens as well, because that is what our culture has become. Good, bad, or indifferent, you have to evolve to it. And the problem with Democrats, and the reason why I keep saying the word conservative, and I think I want to say more preservative. Yeah. They want to preserve these systems, is that shockingly, the conservatives that I thought were just crusty old white people have morphed into this young group of misogynists that really know how to navigate social media and the media landscape. And then we have the Democrats who are preserving. And the biggest problem for Democrats, for me right now and in the past, is we operate under what I call assumption politics. We assume everybody's going to do the right thing.
Such a good way of describing
we assume nobody's going to vote for Trump.
We're so hopeful.
We assume that people know that Caroline Levitt is lying. We assume that everybody knows that Antifa is not real. It is an idea. We assume these things. And in that assumption comes hubris, to where then you cannot plainly speak to constituents. And this is the problem. When Democrats don't do this, really bad actors fill the void. And right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene is filling that void. She is seeing the curtains on Kanks. That's what we call Trump, short for Kankles.
I'm tracking. I'm a listener.
She sees the curtains on Kanks, and she is teeing up, and she's talking about healthcare. She's talking about America seems to have Israel first policies. Why do they have health care? Why do they have higher education and we don't? Well, we live in Oklahoma. And so that kind of shit, that is going to hit hard. And then Democrats are explaining more nuances about those issues. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is, as she does all of this, she was on CNN last night, spitting facts, sounded like a normal fucking person. And then I went to her Twitter and last night, just because she has to pacify the crazies, she's like, by the way, Antifa was at January 6th.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. I mean, like within a 2 hour
It's like the
span.
different universes.
But the point is, those vacuums get filled by these very crafty, manipulative grifters on the right. Benny Johnson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, J.D. Vance, Little Smokey. I mean, they fill these vacuums that Democrats don't fill.
I 1,000% agree. And I think part of it, this is just a small part of it, but the preservation is such a good way of describing it. There's still this, what is presidential? What is governmental? What does a senator do? Get the fuck out of here. Who cares?
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter. You're trying to reach people. And guess what? Most people are not sitting on their couch wearing a suit watching you. So it's like people just have to become a little bit more relaxed. Let go of the talking points. Which it's funny because in part of my transition from being a communications person to being on television is we would have officials on and I would finish an interview and I'd say, we can't have that person on again. They like literally read a list of talking points, right? And there is a letting go and a being a little freer and not being so preservationist with how you talk about things, the words you use to talk about things. Just talk like a human being with a heart. That's it. You know, that's what Democrats care about. Right now, the government shutdown, they want to protect healthcare. That's it. They want to make sure you're not paying more for healthcare. That's the whole thing. So just talk about it like a human being. Stop being so overly formalized and strict with yourself about it.
It's a really good example. We recently had Cory Booker on, and I asked him, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? And he wouldn't answer it. And he filibustered after every answer. And after the interview, I thought...
The ICC thinks he is. You could just say that.
I said that.
We did.
But I thought, would Donald Trump ever fucking blink about just saying it?
No.
He would never fucking blink. And we're playing two different games here. We have these preservationist Democrats that are preserving the status quo, which left us to this moment. And let me just say, I like Cory Booker. His heart's in the right place. He's a fabulous senator. He's a good senator. He's a good voice for the Democratic Party. But we're at the stage in this authoritarian takeover where it's like, stop with the status quo. Stop with your donors. It has left all of us vulnerable. Everybody's hurting. The first Democrat that steps up, whether it's Hakeem Booker, and says, I'm not taking AIPAC anymore. I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm going to fight for this country. Everybody would embrace and love that person immediately. You see it with like the Graham Plattner that's running. You see it with Zoran Mamdani here. People, that's what they liked about Trump. They thought, mistakenly, well, he's a billionaire. He can't get bought. Nobody can own him. I mean, but that's what he projected. And so I just am really worried about a lot of the Democrats still playing like, it feels like conservative politics now. The Democratic Party, the establishment feels conservative to me. And so now I'm like, I find myself going more left, like more leftist, because the Democratic Party, they just want to preserve all of the assumption politics and the bullshit answers. Of course, Benjamin Netanyahu's a war criminal. Fucking say it. For God's sake, Cory. You know, it just drove me crazy.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I think some of it is just people in comfort in their own skin. I think Cory Booker is very comfortable in his own skin. It's
Totally.
Very good.
Yes.
And that's
He's
a good
super
example.
likable.
He's super likable.
And I think he's a good senator. I do.
Very much. But sometimes I think it's a thinking too much about what you think.
Agree.
Right? And Barack Obama, I worked for him for 10 years. He used to say, not perfect, okay, but he was a pretty good president.
No,
and
really
he was good.
Yeah.
And he used to say, and he would give this advice now, I think, to people running for office. Start with what you think, right? Don't start with what the polling says. Don't start with what the talking points say that are given to you by the DNC or wherever it is. First of all, no offense to the DNC, burn the talking points in the ground, you know?
Right.
Start with what is your view? Personally, you're a leader, you're educated, you're informed, and just say that. And it sounds simple, but a lot of people don't do that. Graham Plattner is very interesting because I think he just says what he thinks. And people can't figure out him because they're like, how can he be somebody who says he can speak to Trump voters, but he also has these views? And I'm like, he just says what he thinks. Most people are not checking boxes on one particular line of views, right? Nobody you talk to at the bus stop or the hardware store is like, oh yeah, I meet all of those requirements.
Right.
They might have views that are slightly contradictory because that's human beings. And it's like simple advice, but to anyone who may run for president, all 147 of you, I hope you just start. Now's the time to sit in a room with people you trust and say, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
What do you think about Israel? What do you think about Ukraine? What do you think about any range of issues,
Right.
trans rights, all these things you're going to be asked about? What do you think? Then figure out how to talk about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that the reason that people like Trump is because he comes across as this plain-spoken person. And then I think people in America worship capitalism and worship wealth. But when you get to like the Graham Plattners, and even AOC has had triple Trumpers that also voted for her. Zoran is getting triple Trumpers that are also voting for him. I guarantee you Plattner will. I think what all of that is a pushback on corporate politicians. And when you get to Republicans and a lot of the Democrats that take a lot of corporate donations, for the person that gets up, goes and works, suffers to pay their health insurance, watches Wheel of Fortune, maybe hits Jesse Waters, maybe watches some porn, goes to sleep, rinse, repeat every day. They're looking for somebody who isn't beholden. I don't know that they particularly know how to articulate exactly what that is, but you can feel and see authenticity and you know it. And so when a politician cannot answer a yes or no question, like, do you think Benjamin Netanyahu is a war criminal? When he can't answer it, then you know he definitely thinks he's a war criminal. But he's caught up somewhere and compromised somewhere that he can't say it. And then you sniff that out. And then the stereotype that all politicians are the same, whether they're MAGA or liberal, then they all get chunked into that. And I think people on the coast, and I think people in the Democratic Party always, like, well, the polling shows this and then the polling shows that. That's what they don't get. They don't know how to just speak to people. It's too controlled. The talking points are so controlled and people sniff it out.
It's really, I know you didn't ask me for another. I've had it, but I'm just going to offer another.
We need more. We need more.
No. I mean, I've had it with the phrase kitchen table issues. First of all,
Yes.
Who says that? No one.
Rahm Emanuel is the only person I know that consistently says that. And I got in a huge fight with him over it.
I mean, there are more than just Rahm Emanuel who says that, but it's like, it sounds like it was a phrase created in a lab. I'm sure I've slipped into that word phrasing because it's like everywhere. But nobody in any community in the country sits around and says, I wish my person running for office would talk about kitchen table issues. Issues we speak about at the kitchen table. It's like, what is that? But
I agree with you. That's such a good habit.
That is in like every set of talking points that's anywhere. It's like, what is a kitchen table issue? Or it's like there's lots of different iterations of economic populism. It's like nobody is sitting anywhere saying like, I wish somebody running would be like, I'm a more economic populist.
Here's the kitchen table issues. God, that senator is so full of shit. I wish they would just speak the truth. God, did they not get it? Of course they don't get it. That's more the kitchen table issues. Yeah. It's not like people are sitting around the kitchen table and talking about, here's our punch list. The grievances that Americans have, it is all linked to the affordability crisis and the fact that wages have gone up so high for 1%, 2%ers and have stagnated. I mean, it's basically everything that fucking Bernie said.
Yes.
Back when he ran against Hillary, and I voted for Hillary. But as a person that's watched this idiot fucking moron win twice, I go back to Bernie's message. And he was spot on. That was something that was really penetrating to all parts of people, affordability. And the way that we do capitalism in this country is simply not sustainable. It needs to be regulated. Wages need to go up. A more FDR style way to preserve capitalism with a much larger social safety net. And I just think the kitchen table issues right now are people are sniffing out bullshit. And they're sick of scripted politicians.
Totally. I mean, yeah, it's the Bernie message. And this is, I think, one of my epiphanies post-election when I was going through my own therapy session, as we all were. It's like why I did even a podcast myself was like, I don't know what the hell just happened. But is that the Democratic Party was not talking to a huge swath of the public that didn't feel heard about their struggles with affordability, with the cost of everything. And it's the cost of living, it's the cost of housing, it's the cost of healthcare, it's the cost of everything. Nate Cohn, sorry, I'm going to pick on him for a second. I'm not going to apologize. I don't care. Wrote this piece the other day about how Democrats are fighting an old battle about healthcare. I'm like, I'm sorry. Is the healthcare system perfect and it's affordable for everybody? Because it's not, right? And it is. So it's just, some of this is just, it's a little bit discussions in a lab that are not about real discussions people are having. And some of the terminology used falls into that category too.
Okay. You know our game, Had It or Hit It.
Yes.
Oh my God. Welcome to Had It or Hit It. I would hit it.
Had it.
Had it. I hit it every day, sometimes twice a day. Jen Psaki, had it or hit it, generational warfare. Meaning like Gen Z versus millennials.
Had it.
I kind of had it too.
Are you millennial, Gen
I'm
X?
Gen X.
Okay, we're Gen X too.
Are you Gen X?
First of all, I just want to I'm the same age as Brendan Carr, and I want everybody watching
I
right
saw that the other day.
to look up
He
Brendan
looks so
Carr.
old.
And I really had a moment of feeling good about myself. I'm also older than Emil Bovee, who darkness does not age you well, is my theory there. And Stephen Miller, also him. So
what do you think?
My young friends, all of them.
What do you think's going on with Jesse Waters? I don't know if you're on TV, so you don't
I think
get
he's
to
gay.
see it. Well, obviously, but
His hair, his hair is good.
He has good hair. He does have good hair. It's dyed to, in person, it's too dyed.
Yeah.
But he is constantly talking about Stephen Miller's sexual prowess.
Oh, wait, is he the one who did the thing about him being a matador?
Matador. He's a sexual matador. This week alone, he
said that AOC is dying to have sex with him, that he is a man's man. It's the gayest.
So gross.
I'm an interior designer when I'm not a podcaster. So I have always had lots and lots of gay male friends. I'm at happiest among gay men.
Mm-hmm.
And through all of my times, drag shows, going to gay bars, hanging out with the gay guys, I have never heard people talk about men, gay men. I haven't heard men talk about other men as much as I have MAGA men talk about men. There's just something so homosocial about the whole entire movement that is so bizarre. And then Jesse Waters, we saw him at the DNC, and we were so excited to be there. And we're standing like we're back where you were probably there reporting, and he comes by, and it is Press City.
Sashay
we were
away.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And he thought he was hot.
Well, I've never met him in person, and I don't watch his show because it's like during my show.
Right.
And also because I like to have like mental health.
Yeah.
But this is, broadly speaking, this is like a sadness I feel. If I can have some empathy for a lot of people who feel so embedded into the conservative GOP world, it's like they can't be themselves, right?
It is.
Yes.
It's sad.
Part of it.
Typically, I'm sad about it if people are doing that in a passive way.
Yeah.
If somebody lives in a red town or red city and they were raised religiously and they live a double life, but in a very passive way.
Yeah.
I have the most empathy for that than I can even.
But these people are mean snakes.
These people
and
are
living secret lives.
These
maybe. We
people
don't know.
are during
Grinder
the day. During the day, they wake up and they're demonizing gay people, demonizing trans people, demonizing drag queens, banning books. And then at night, it's grinder and eating ass. I mean, you know what I mean? So fuck them. I say out all of them that do that.
There you go.
But typically, I have so much empathy. Being us living in Oklahoma, I had so many gay friends that just coming out of the closet was just brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal for them. It was really painful. Their families, their friends, so much judgment. Okay. Had it or hit it, TikTok dances.
Had it.
I can't dance, so it's
Me neither. And I always say when we just hired a wonderful new social media person, I'm like, I'll do anything, but nobody wants to see me dance.
right.
Nobody wants to see me in a makeup chair, particularly. You know, it's like I'm just going to nerd out, and if people want to watch it, great. And otherwise, Yeah, kind of had it. Some of them are funny. I mean, some of them, when people make it funny, like they're kind of in on the joke.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
That's funny. But yeah, I've otherwise had it.
Okay, had it or hit it, Harvard.
Had it.
Had it.
Yeah.
Don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. You have a huge endowment.
Yes.
I don't love, of course, Trump and others attacking institutions, but I've had it.
They gave
the
up.
Story.
They gave up.
Yeah.
Okay, had it or hit it, Bad Bunny.
Oh, hit it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm obsessed with this story. Did you see, because we talked about Little Mike Johnson a little bit, which I just always call him because
We call him Moses,
Moses.
Mike.
Okay.
Because, he said God woke him up in the middle of the night and said, hey, little guy, wake up. You're Moses. So we call him Moses.
So there's that. So someone asked him, did you see this? Someone asked him about Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl the other day, a couple days ago. And he said, I just don't think it's a good idea. And the reporter said, why not? And he said, I don't think he has a very big following. And I prefer someone like, wait for it, Lee Greenwood.
I about fell over dead when I heard that.
Okay, Jen,
It's my favorite thing that's happened this week,
This
perhaps.
is what makes me want to get this microphone and bang it over Democrats' head and go, it is a fucking layup. All the cool people are Democrats. All the cool celebrities are Democrats. Take this thing, what Moses Mike did, and just fucking run his pipsqueak ass through the meat grinder. But it just gets lost. And I think that we're at such a disadvantage because I've been reading a lot about how organized and funded the right wing off of Fox News, the network of all of the, you've seen that diagram with the bubbles.
Yep.
That's all funded by billionaires. And they send these right-wingers, little young right-wingers, free of charge through the social media school that they pay for, and they get them ready. So if a Democrat messed up like that, they would disseminate it through the right wing, all of those. And this is off of Fox even, and it just would get ripped on TikTok. It would find algorithms and everything. And the Democrats just do not have that structure at all. And they've taken for granted mainstream media, which now a lot of it is so compromised. I mean, like that Bari Weiss or whatever, she's taken over CBS. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's so true. I mean, Kara Swisher, she's
love her.
She's the best. Always says what's on her mind. It's the greatest, and her podcast is great. That Democrats don't support Democrats who are who are progressive leaning, what have you, who have platforms, don't support each other. Really, don't support each other on platforms by having each other on the different platforms, by lifting up the work of each other's platforms. So there's that. And the other piece is, I remember a couple months ago, it's all the space-time continuum is a little confusing, where there was this story that was so scandalous about how kind of an outside group was paying creators to create content for the Democrats.
Chorus or something
Whatever
like
it
that.
is. And I'm like, it was a little clunky and messy, but I'm like, you know what? I hope there are billionaire Democratic donors who are going to pay some creators to create content, not in a way that should be repeating the DNC talking points, but should be freewheeling. You 22-year-olds who are really good at talking about healthcare in a personal way, but don't have the means to do it and expand what you're doing. Let's fund you and give you money so you can do it. I think that's a good thing. And that doesn't exist as much on the Democratic side either. And I hope it does over the coming years.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody asked us, I think we were interviewed by The Guardian, and this gal came to Oklahoma City and she asked what we thought about that because everybody was so mad about it. And I go, I'm not super mad about that. Like, I don't see, if they are shilling 100% for the preservation politics that drive me crazy about Democrats.
That's not effective anyway. It's about strategy.
Right. I oppose that. But in general, like, I see every other left-leaning or pro-democracy, let me even say that, podcast or YouTube channel, not as a competitor, but as an ally. And when you think about, like, when you go to suburbs, when you see all of the chain restaurants, they're all put there together on purpose because everybody goes there to that one area to eat. Their cars just kind of start driving there. The same thing with all of us on this side. The more of us and the more we collaborate, the better. I see no one as a competitor and everyone as an ally. That's from Ben Meiselas to Hassan Piker. Like, we have to have a huge, gigantic tent. And if we all agree on everything, we would be a fucking cult.
We'd be boring.
Right. Yes.
We shouldn't agree. Lawrence O'Donnell said this to me once because he said something once and I just on some set and I was like, I totally disagree with that in the moment. And then I was like, I'm sorry, I just sort of like bit your head off. And he goes, no, it's good. It's fine. We disagree on all sorts of things. It's such a good point. It's funny. And also we all I consume a lot of people's content, you know? And when I told somebody in the hallway, one of Chris Hayes' producers, that I was coming here to do this today, and he was like, oh, you learned about them from us. And I was like, no. I was like, I am a listener outside of, I know that like you've appeared on Chris Hayes' show because he's right before me. So I see what's on his show. I was like, no, I knew about them before. Or I don't know, maybe around the same time, but probably before. It's like it's a funny thing. But yeah, it's such a good point. And I think this goes back to your preservationist point, which is such a good one. You also have to let these people be free and create content in their own style and way.
And misstep.
Democrats
need to embrace missteps, apologize and move on the way the Republicans do it. And like, I always think about, what was this, Al Franken? I always think about Al Franken.
Doesn't it seem so silly now?
I always think about that. And I think Democrats, whether you're a politician, work for somebody, you know, in their office, you work for the government, or you are a podcaster or a journalist or whatever, if you misstep, own it, say you're sorry, and move the fuck on.
Exactly.
Unless it's just something cancelable, which those things do exist. But generally, sometimes we'll say something, you know, because we're bullshit artists. We sit here and bullshit all day. And sometimes I'm like, you know, I was thinking about what I said the other day, and I kind of think I was wrong. I think this, like the evolution of conversation, Democrats need to embrace.
1,000. And if you don't operate like that, you're boring. Right. Because you're so worried about what you're going to say all the time and how you say it. And then you sound scripted and boring.
All right, last one.
Yeah.
Had it or hit it. I've had it podcast.
Hit it, obviously. Yeah. I mean, you guys, I'm a child of a therapist, so I can say you guys are like a form of therapy to so many people. Me included. I try to listen to Lawrence O'Donnell's show on the way home, but I give myself license on some days. I love to listen to you guys on the way home because it's just like you're unwinding. I also listen to Kylie Kelsey's podcast, which is also great.
Oh, yeah.
And I know so many people feel that way because it's like you feel like you need a community of people where you can just say the thing right now and feel scared and frustrated and worried about your neighbor. And one of the things I love that you guys do is you really lift up other voices and you're not just talking about white women, right?
Right.
You're not just staring at each other talking about white women, which we could talk about that.
The most disappointing demographic.
The struggles of the wealthy white woman.
Wealthy white women and why they vote the wrong way. Next episode, you talk about the issues impacting so many people in communities that need a voice. And that's so powerful. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. And thank you for coming on. Tell our listeners about your new podcast.
Oh, thank you. So we did a first season of The Blueprint last year, which was really at the day after the election. I woke up with like hair sticking up and black eye makeup. I actually was anchoring till 6 a.m. So I don't even know. And I was like, I need to talk to people about what just happened and what it means now. We really need to self-reflect. Everybody's a part of it. Me going on television every day and saying fascism, authoritarianism, is that the right thing or not, right? What do we need to learn? And that's what the first season was really about. This season is about looking forward. We're not going to genuflect on 2024. There are some things, maybe if people bring them up, but I'm interested in what I'm going to do is talk to people who are not afraid to say the thing and don't agree necessarily. And there are big debates in the Democrat. We've been talking about them, right? I mean, it's like, what about purity tests? Good, bad, right? Generational change. Is it the true everywhere there needs to be a younger person or not true some other places? What are the issues that should lead on? What should you talk about? What shouldn't you? So that's what the focus is. And I'm really excited about it. It launches next week.
I'm super excited.
And you guys are one of my first episodes.
Yes. So you guys, listener, cross from I've Had It to Blueprint with Jen Saga.